This is my 2013 V-Rod Muscle that I haven't paid $10,000 for yet. But why did I buy a V-Rod Muscle in 2020? Well, mostly because I was curious on what Harley-Davidson's Revolution motor was like compared to my Suzuki M109R. Okay, really the V-Rod was only $9,000, but I paid $600 to have it shipped from Arizona all the way across the country to Alabama. So after title and taxes and registration, really it comes out to a little over $10,000. And I didn't want to spend $10,000 on a motorcycle that's essentially keeping my channel alive and also dropping in value. Or is it? Yes, this motorcycle is a depreciating asset, but a bittersweet thing is the V-Rods were discontinued in 2018, which makes them somewhat of a hot commodity. And technically the value of these bikes should either hold or go up over the long term. So my V-Rod came in with a little over 4,400 miles, and there were others out there with significantly more miles. For example, my V-Rod, I paid $9,000 for it. It was a 2013 and it only had a little over 4,400 miles on it. And there were others out there, which one that I was actually looking at was a 2013, same color, had an exhaust on it just like this one, 21,000 miles, and they were selling it for $9,000. And that V-Rod that had 21,000 miles on it, the moment I called, I missed it by a few hours to buy it. So I went back out to Cycle Trader that same day and I found this one for $9,500. I called, and that day the price had dropped to $9,000. It just didn't update on Cycle Trader. So I got the better bike with 15,000 less miles. But my point I'm trying to make is, as long as nothing major happens to this bike, technically I can put 15,000 miles on it and sell it close to what I paid for it. Again, assuming nothing mechanical happens to the bike, the market for these bikes holds value or goes up. It's even better. And then we added my finance charge of $782.26, give or take, or better known as the loan interest at 2.99% over 60 months. That's around $13 a month, including my $180 a month payment. Then we add in insurance and the payment together. I'm looking at about $250, $260 a month just to ride this bike. And I'm almost riding this motorcycle for free outside of regular maintenance and insurance. So I consider that a smart play for a motorcycle that somewhat holds value. Now, the next reason I bought this V-Rod comes down to pure ownership. I wanted to know what it was like to own both the V-Rod Muscle and the M109R at the same time. And because out of all the videos that I found on YouTube that show the V-Rod and the M109R together in a pure ownership perspective, they weren't that good. At least I didn't get any value out of it, so I bought the V-Rod, again, because it was a great value, and two, I had the M109R, and I figured, why not show a pure ownership perspective of them both and do it better and give a really good perspective on it. But what is it like to commute on either of these and take them out on back roads? Or what about the maintenance and cost of overall ownership? Which one do I prefer to ride in groups or on cold and wet days? Simply put, what is it like to own one of few Harley-Davidsons with the Revolution motor? But another side to this comes from my childhood. Growing up, I didn't know too much about Harley-Davidson as a brand other than they made cruisers. And this all changed when I got into riding and I bought my very first cruiser, which was a Suzuki M50. But hanging out with different riders and having a lack of experience for the culture as a young buck, I was told that I shouldn't buy a Harley-Davidson. And reasons being, they're not fast, they're an old man's bike, or that they simply didn't make motorcycles for people that look like me. And of course, the more experience in riding I got, the more bikes I was on, the more people I met, I realized that everything was a bunch of garbage because those words lacked experience, they lacked substance and knowledge, and that in itself made them ignorant. And that's why experience, to me, experiencing things for yourself is invaluable. That is why I bought this bike. So now that I have V-Rod, no one can tell me, how bad or good this bike is, especially compared to my M109, because I have both. I've ridden both. I know that this bike does things better than the M109, and vice versa. They're great in their own way, and I know that now.
Now, a lot of people don't consider the V-Rod a Harley-Davidson motorcycle because it challenged the culture that Harley-Davidson built when it was released in 2001. And a big part of this was having a liquid-cooled, high-performing motor based on Harley-Davidson's VR1000 superbike, which was completely developed in-house, and then Porsche was brought in to essentially take the VR1000 blueprint and make it into a street-legal motor.
We all know somebody that has said the words, or it could be you watching, "This is the only Harley-Davidson that I would have ever bought." Why? Because it didn't look like a Harley at the time. It didn't sound like a Harley at the time. It was liquid cooled. But at the end of the day, this was the black sheep of Harley-Davidson. And I absolutely love it. And that is why I chose the very awesome name of calling this motorcycle the Fake HD. Not because I think the motorcycle is a fake HD, but I'm just adding fuel to the fire. But I truly think this motorcycle is a wolf in sheep's clothing, even though it looks so aggressive. But if you pull up beside one and you don't know what it is, you will find out soon enough. This is truly one of the best bikes I think Harley-Davidson has ever made. And I'm glad that it's my first.
And with the axe to the V-Rod brand, it's not all bad, as we now have Revolution Max standing on the shoulders on what Revolution did for Harley-Davidson in the early 2000s. And hopefully on this round, hopefully, we get to see even more versatility with this motor. And so far, Pan America's a great start.